Over the years, one of the biggest changes within the gaming world have been the graphics. Through generations, we have watched them go from this to what they are now. It is truly insane what has been able to be achieved throughout the years. But in more recent times, the jump in quality has practically become non-existent, with many people saying certain games look better from the Xbox One and PS4. And with situations like the PS5 Pro and then comparing it to the PS5, it feels like a joke as you really can't tell a difference. No longer are the days where you can just make a pretty looking game and gain excitement and traction for it. Because most games can look like that, it is no longer seen as an accomplishment to me. And companies seem to be lagging behind in this trend. They still think they can sell their game purely based on how pretty it looks. And sure, to a degree, can you blame them? There's still a fairly prevalent side of gamers who bash titles for quote unquote looking like a PS3 title. But I feel like graphics are hurting the overall quality of video games. So often, companies put such an emphasis on making the world so realistic that they end up ignoring what truly matters. The gameplay, the characters, the story, the atmosphere, art direction. These things are not fully fleshed out when teams spend years making a game look like real life and don't deliver in most other aspects. But before we really do get into things, if you guys do enjoy this video, it would mean a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. With that being said, let's jump right into it. Graphics used to be something that you could praise a title for and it be a major selling point. And it was justified back then when we were watching games go from pixelated 2D titles to 3D, from characters being shaped like a polygon to actually looking like a real person. The hype was justified when we were watching graphics and technology improve exponentially up through to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. When you see a game go from looking like this to practically real life, it made sense why it was such a selling point. But now it's just lost its touch. You see a pretty looking world and you're like, okay, what about the actual game? I already got over those hype feelings when seeing titles coming out for previous new gen consoles. That feeling wasn't there at all for the Series X and PS5. And it's not the company's fault that's no longer impressive. We have just simply plateaued in terms of graphics at this point in time. And in many situations, it does more bad than good in this current day. For my entire time playing video games, graphics in my opinion are some of the aspects I care the least about. There has never been a situation where a title succeeded purely on the basis that it looked like real life and had good graphics. Cause what do you do with that? Just look at it? There's more to video game development than how realistic we can make it look. And yet, we see budgets for games increase exponentially to fight in this AAA war of having the best graphical fidelity, having more detail in the world, and just making it bigger. They have this instant need of trying to one-up the other companies and claim that this is truly a new gen game or a quadruple A title. When, I'm sorry to break the news, but you're picking possibly the worst direction to go down to make a game feel like new gen. You are trying to advertise the thing that has been relatively plateaued since 2014.
Intellectual challenge I like to conquer. Well,
and the more they pour resources into these things, the longer development goes on for, the more it costs to make, which eventually trickles down into making games more expensive. It is absolutely absurd looking at the budget for some of these titles. It's not surprising when these games flop profit-wise and the people that suffer the consequences are the developers. It amazes me that these games surpass budgets of like $300, $400, even $500 million. Because we've seen it in like the past 2 years. Some of the most successful titles are not games that blow you away graphically or anything along those lines or have big budgets. The past 2 Game of the Year winners were an over-the-top turn-based RPG and a platformer. I think these games are gorgeous and their art styles are amazing, which we'll get into, but they don't align with your typical first or third person AAA experience. They don't have uber realistic graphics where you can see the pores on people's skin and every speck in their eyeball. That's just not the case. And companies need to realize that just because this rock looks like it's from real life doesn't make your game good. There's so much more that goes into a game. It just feels like with the improvement in technology, companies act like being distinct in their art style is pointless. It's not a surprise when you hear so many people bring up games from over a decade ago and how they look better than what is released now. Games like BioShock, Dishonored, Arkham Knight, Assassin's Creed Unity, and so many more look better than what is coming out now, even when sure, technically these modern titles are better graphically. But those older games have a charm and style that just makes them more memorable and look better. And that's such a big aspect that is lost today. I look at these settings and worlds and sure they look good, but nothing about it stands out. These games that come out now really blend together. They have your same old beautiful trees, grass where you can see every individual blade, massive mountains. And honestly after 5 minutes my brain just mushes the graphics together where it just feels like any other game. And I am never in awe of the world for the rest of my time with it. But when playing these older games, there were countless moments where I was blown away from a specific set piece or location that stood out from the rest of the experience. Like, there's only so many times I can look at a tree and see how real it looks or explore some generic city, but hey, at least it resembles real life. To put it simply, it's boring. When a game truly has no art direction or style, it instantly becomes forgettable. I would much rather a game that might not look super real or have amazing fidelity, but have such a unique style. Games are losing their identities and begin to merge with one another. I love it when titles have such unique style purely to themselves, handcrafted for this specific experience. Those are the worlds I remember. I'm not going to remember this realistic setting. You know why? It's because I see it every day. Like, wow, look at this realistic rock. I can step outside and do that and not spend $70. You know what I can't see in real life? An underwater city with this 50s aesthetic, explore Norse realms and face their gods. The cyberpunk city with the most deranged citizens imaginable, and the list can go on. And yes, of course, some of those games are gorgeous graphically, but they also bring an art style with them, a very distinct direction creatively. And other titles like Hades, Metaphore Fantasio, Borderlands, Firewatch, the art direction is so distinct and I can picture it perfectly in my head. I know that was like a really random bunch of games, but that's what popped into my mind. What all of these games do is make a world and style that is unique to themselves and nothing else. The last thing I want a game to do is play it safe in terms of graphics and just make it look realistic because, oh, that's what sells better. It shouldn't be that way. The amount of care and polish and time that must go into crafting these unique styles and worlds that truly feel like I'm traveling into another world is absurd, and it should be praised. Art style and direction is the single most important aspect when talking about the world and setting of a game. And I'm not trying to come out here and say a title should not go for realism or things of that sort. Amazing graphics can coexist with art style. The biggest example that I can think of in recent times is the Silent Hill 2 remake. A lot of people were worried about this game as they thought they were going to lose the charm that the original PS2 title had, which is a valid worry as remakes sometimes lose the charm of an older title when they remake it. But Silent Hill 2 improved on the graphics in every conceivable way while keeping the eerie feel of Silent Hill. With the fog, the monsters, the aesthetic was still most definitely there. So it's not impossible to achieve this mix, it's just that a lot of companies lean more into the graphical side than actually making their game unique. They get bigger budgets and just waste it on graphics and world size. And I don't want to completely bash on realism. It works in some cases, like Red Dead 2 or The Last of Us Part 2. These games are drop dead gorgeous and look real. But they also do practically everything else good as well. I don't understand how we have improved in graphical fidelity but somehow got titles that look worse. I think it comes down to passion and desire. I'm not going to bash the developers as in many cases it's the higher ups that push the idea and time restraints. But it's just laziness to a degree. It takes a lot more effort and time to handcraft a unique world for the game that you are making. But at least to me, it is something that is worthwhile doing. The increase in technology shouldn't be causing us to receive more shallow worlds that have less character to them. We should be getting such unique experiences and settings with this improved technology. We have to close this door on this constant push trying to increase graphical fidelity. It really doesn't matter. I'm not playing a game to look at it. I'm playing it to, well, play it. That shouldn't be some shock. We look at some of the best sold games of all time and we see things like Tetris, Minecraft, Wii Sports, and Mario Kart. Graphics do not matter to that high of a degree. And companies have to stop acting like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread for the fact that we can see more reflections in the puddle and extra acne on the character's face. I care about what the game does, how it plays, what's the world like, is the story good, are the characters interesting. My last question is how graphically impressive is it going to be? Graphics are slowly ruining game development and the uniqueness that titles can bring. We need more emphasis on the art direction and style. That is what actually matters, not graphics. If you guys made it to the end of this video, thank you guys so much for watching. Your support means the absolute world to me. If you guys did enjoy it, it would mean a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Again, thank you guys so much for your support. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I will see you guys in the next one, and God bless.